Hello there YouTube, this is the Rogue Gem player here and coming at you with a updated version of Mermail Atlanteans. Obviously with the banning of Bahamut Shark and Toad, the deck has kind of lost a lot of power, but it still has place, in my opinion. The deck has shifted quite a bit to the point where we're actually playing other things to make the deck work. It still is quite competitive and it is one of the best advantage engines I've ever played. The ability to just, because of the fact everything's discarding for cost and they still trigger, means that it is very resilient to hand traps and things like that. So it is very resilient, plays through a lot of things, but it does have its own kind of issues that people just tend to incorporate with this type of deck. And let's get on right into it. So we're going to start with, first of all, 3 copies of the Atlantean Prince. You always, I repeat, always max out on this card. You either are normal, it's either you're in a main normal summon, which automatically gives you a search, because you're going to send an Atlantean to search an Atlantean, or in this case, you're going to search Dragoons. And then, not to mention, it does have another effect where if you tribute it, or if it's into the graveyard to activate a water monster effect, you can still resurrect a monster, so you can still gain advantage off of it. So we do play 3 of that. We then play 3 copies of Abyss Shrine. Depending on the version of the deck, you might be inclined to cut 1 or 2, but the fact that this card says search anything that's level 7 means that there is a lot of cards you can search off of it, and it is absolutely broken. Not to mention, it does allow you to play on your opponent's turn as well by triggering by triggering water monster effects during your opponent's turn by using its effect. So, we're then playing 3 Pike to help facilitate that, and 3 copies of the Shadow Squad as our kind of engine starters or kind of main pieces to kind of get the deck rolling. You don't necessarily need to run multiples of like Pike, but I am playing Deep Sea King Coelacanth, so you kind of need you kind of need to play 3 copies so you have 2 to summon from deck, so keep that in mind. We then play 3 copies of Dragoons to facilitate everything in this deck. Like, you cannot afford to not play 3 of this card. We're playing 3 of the Poseidon Storming Atlantean. This is really good now. It's part of your toolbox. There's another disruption that can give you more stuff, send stuff to grave. 3 of the Teus to round off kind of like the multiples. And the main card you search, if you already have the engine that you need, you can just use this to search, and it just automatically gives you more cards. For one-ofs, we're playing 1 Megalo, 1 Gunned, 1 Heavy Infantry. For the Mermail Atlantean stuff, I'm testing out Gun as a way of kind of mitigating certain cases where this card can give you a free summon, and not to mention that it's something you can search off the Teus when you already have your combo. It just gives you free advantage for basically no reason. So that's all of the Mermail Atlantean specific stuff. We now go into the water monster support cards. We're playing 1 copy of Deep Sea King Coelacanth. You summon this off of the Rhine to basically get you free material. First off, we're playing 1 copy of Moulin Glacia, the 1 copy of Deep Sea Minstrel. You never need more than 1 of this card. If you play the triple version of it, you can do that for hand ripping and things like that, but you do go through a combo that does get you into this anyway. So, and then we're playing the 1 copy of Grethus or Baby Croc. You do summon this in the combo, which gives you more, gives you the level 7 stuff. And then we're playing the 1 copy of the Barrier Statue of the Torrent, because we are still allowed to play this card. This card is absolutely amazing right now. The moment, there's very few, none of the meta decks right now currently can stop this card, can get around this really as easily, unless they are using outside support or engines to get rid of them. We are playing 1 copy of 7 Colored Fish. I'll explain this when we get to the extra deck. Just note that it being a vanilla water is pretty important, so keep that in mind. And it was the one that I wanted to play over anything else. We're playing, for the non-engine, 3 copies of Ash, 3 copies of Droll, 3 copies of Nibiru. If you have Mulcharmies, you can play the Mulcharmies, especially, I believe it's, Perulia, just because it's a water that you can, you know, discard for its effects. We're then playing the 1 copy of 1-for-1 and 1 copy of Abyss Sting Triana, which is searched off of the Abyss King, or the Mermail King. So keep that in mind. And then for traps, the Virtue Stream, we are playing the Virtue Dragon, so we can't search it. Abyss Steam, this is something that it gives you something to search off of the things like Megalo and other things. Just something that you can just kind of just have, because it does give you free draws as well. And then if you have a water monster destroyed by battle card effect while it's in your graveyard, you can banish it to add a Mermail monster from deck or from your graveyard or banishment to your hand. So it does give you follow-up for next turn. And then we're playing 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence as our last remaining card in the main. Now, for the extra deck is kind of dependent on what version of the deck you are playing. So I'm playing a version that's playing a particular monster. If you play a Snowdust Giant, you can do that. I don't particularly like Snowdust Giant because it doesn't really commit anything beyond triggering Dragoon. So it doesn't give you any more advantage than it already is. So we're playing the 1 copy of Abyss Lacia. You actually make this more now than you did before, prior, because this is one of the cards you kind of end on, and it acts as a disruption because you do get to discard to activate to do another search. So keep that in mind. Coral Anemone as part of the combo. Abyss Keeper, this allows you to get Coelacanth out of your hand, which is pretty important. And then we're playing the 1 copy of Mermail King Neptabyss. You have to play this. You are going to go into it whether you like it or not. It just gives you so much advantage because it is protection for all of your water stuff. So that's really cool. And then for the Exceeds, the Virtue Dragon. When summoned, when it's special, you do get the Virtue Stream instantly. And then its materials kind of just sit there, so you can do other stuff with it, and then you can tribute it off if you want. So that's pretty cool as well. We're playing Magic Key Spirit Vapartu. So what this card does is when it succeeds summon, you detach material on summon, and then you add a level 4 or higher normal from deck or graveyard to hand. If it has a normal monster equipped, it does do other things, but the main purpose is that it does add 7 color fish. So this instantly gives you can detach the Dragoon, which triggers the Dragoon effect instantly, but also gets you another card that you can discard for things like Teus, Megalo, you know, whatever you need, because it is a water monster that can trigger an effect. So to keep that in mind. We are playing the 1 Abyss Trite. It's another resummon that you can use after, and then kind of just buffs up your stuff. The 1 Abyss Gaios, you need this card. That's a skill drain on legs, and then 2 copies of Poseidra. I can tell you right now, this card is absolutely busted, and this gives you so much advantage because you can easily make the second one if you absolutely don't have a choice. Because you're gonna stack a Trite or a Megalo over it if you absolutely have to, and then link it off into King, which gives you 3 monsters, and then you can make all kinds of other advantages and things like that. So it is something you can play. The deck is non-linear, mind you. It's dependent on your hand. So if you really are trying to play this deck, you kind of have to do a lot of testing to find out what combos work and what don't. And then we are playing 1 copy of Prima Donna. This is specifically to summon the barrier statue. If you choose not to play the barrier statue, you can cut this card entirely and play something else. So as long as barrier statue is still in the game, we are going to be playing this card. Monoceros is part of the 7, kind of the rank 7 toolboxing, because it is something that you can make that also summons a monster back. Sure, you can't attack with it when you do, but it brings back a monster, and then, you know, obviously you use that to synchro climb or whatever you need. Trishula, there's rare cases, especially if you use the Poseidra Abyss. Grimure, and Chen Ying. These are the only 2 level 10s we can play right now, currently, that really do something, unless you play the Ice Barrier Lancia, which doesn't really do anything in this deck, except summon monsters that you could theoretically be using. So, but that's neither here nor there. So that's the deck. Like I said, this is kind of one of those, as long as we get water support, there's always going to be a version of this deck coming out. You know, there's going to be people that are going to be testing it. There are going to be different advantages, disadvantages of it. Like, there isn't one set way of playing the deck. So if you're really one of those that you can kind of make plays based upon, like, this is a lot of test handing. You know, find combos that work. It plays through disruption really well. There's only a very specific choke points that only someone with experience would know. In addition to that, the deck can play through multiple cards. You know, if they draw you, fine, you have other things to play. You know, you can still make something out of nothing. You know, you could still summon from the deck. You don't have to add. The only card that adds really all that much is Dragoon, and you can still play around that. You know, and if not, you can do other things with it as well. So it's kind of resilient. It does die to graveyard manipulations, unfortunately, but it is just one of those. It's got a weakness, and unfortunately, because of the lack of Toad and Bahamut Shark, it's just there. So let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.